The right book in the hand of the right person at exactly the right moment can change their life forever.
Between the Bookends, a podcast about books with Mindy from Bookends Bookstore in North Myrtle Beach, and yours truly, Scott Richards.
Hi, book friends. Welcome to Between the Bookends, your friendly North Myrtle Beach podcast, where we celebrate what we've been reading recently. I'm Mindy from Bookends, here with Scott Richards, and we are excited to share some great book suggestions with you today. That is the first line of the book I'm in the middle of right now.
I will tell you, that is so true.
Mm-hmm. It's powerful.
It is powerful, and it also is the reverse. The wrong book at the right time, or the wrong book at the, or the book at the right time, it can have a profound negative impact.
That's true. That's true.
But you are right, and I think back about those books that have had the impact. It's like at the right time, and it doesn't mean anything heavy necessarily. It could be, I just needed that little a bit of humor.
Pick me up.
It
right.
made me feel good.
Yeah.
Isn't that always the way?
I love, yes.
Wow.
So that is what I'm currently in the middle of. I'm going to start just because I...
You do, you're in the middle of...
It's by Libby Page is the author, and it's called This Book Made Me Think of You.
Okay.
And they had me at the title because that often happens, I think. It is the story of Tilly, and she gets a call from her local bookstore that there's a book waiting for her, and it was reserved by her late husband. So she goes, and he has left 12 books for her, one for each month of the year, to help her grow and process and heal, because he passed away a year ago. But he had this already arranged with the bookseller.
And she didn't know?
No. So I am loving everything about this book so far. The cover is beautiful, even though I know that's not supposed to matter, but it just flat out is.
No, it does matter.
It just adds to it. It is beautiful. It's full of book suggestions and references, and it just feels very hopeful, even though the precursor of death, kind of makes you think maybe it would be a down book, but it is not. So far, I'm loving it.
And the book suggestions, are they real books?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
To think that through. Wow. It's hard to pick out books for other people.
That is true.
Sometimes.
That's true. That's true.
Until
But it's he is living that quote. He's trying to find the exact right book for her at the exact right moment, which is very sweet. What have you been reading?
Well, I have been in a little bit of a, you find the series and think, okay, I'm going to jump into this until I'm tired of it.
Yes.
I'm not tired of it yet. As a matter of fact, I was up here on Wednesday. Some of you know works here on Wednesdays, and picked me out another one in the series. I haven't read that yet, but I'm just loving the Preston and Child series.
Yeah.
The Agent Aloysius Pendergast.
I didn't know his first name was Aloysius.
Aloysius Pendergast. It doesn't come up a lot, but the book I just finished it's new, and it's Pendergast, The Beginning.
Oh, that's right, because he goes back. Okay.
That's right. He goes back by Preston and Child. We go back to New Orleans. There's a seasoned FBI agent, Dwight Chambers. Now, he's lost his wife recently, so he's been in a bit of a funk, and maybe he hadn't been doing such a great job, but what the heck? He's been a loyal employee, and he is assigned a new trainee. He's going to be the mentor of this Agent Pendergast.
Okay.
And Agent Pendergast, as we know who have read him, and this is a good book to start with because it doesn't matter that you haven't read, but this guy's a little odd. Number one, he dresses always in a black suit, and he's very thin and he's tall, and I'm not exactly sure. I think he's got blonde hair, but he's pale.
Okay.
And he has a background that we learn a little bit. He was in a military or quasi-military background.
Okay.
And at one point we learn that he was married. I'm not going to give anything away because I think you need to go through this. But the story begins with some oddities with an abduction of a very capable, strong security guard type guy. And he's trapped, and there's it's an obsession with his right arm. His captor, he's just something about that right arm. And then there are murders, and there's somebody missing, and there's a fire that destroys who we think is a murderer, and they finally figure out they solve the murder.
Okay.
And then bad things keep happening. And it reopens some old cases. And Agent Pendergast is clearly brilliant. He's got a little Sherlock Holmes in him of that nature. And he kind of bucks the system. And the agent Chambers starts to kind of figure out this guy may be smarter than we think. And it all comes together. All of these, well, I can't say all of them. All of the ones I've read, the Preston and Child, they have a little bit of paranormal.
Yeah. That's what I had heard.
Mystery paranormal, but almost, but maybe not quite. Okay. Now, some of his books do go way in. I mean, he's done a couple of books with time travel, but all of them have that little edge, and it's fascinating. They write together as a child, as a team. They write so well together, and the characters are great. So it's called Pendergast: The Beginning by Preston and Child. That
is great, because I hear a lot about that series, but I'm always like, I can't just jump in the middle. So this would kind of give you a leeway.
I think so. I think it's. I mean, I don't know if you have to read them in order. This one you can start because it is the beginning, but the others, there are some that are connected that you really don't want to read before.
Right. So. But this can let you jump in a little easier.
Yes.
Nice. Excellent. I just read, the title is "I'm Not the Only Murderer in My Retirement Home" by Fergus Craig.
You have had a little bit of a trend with these sorts of things.
I think it's just, I don't, and I can't seem to stop it. I was
Is it cozy?
It is. Well, it's fairly cozy.
Okay.
The title alone is excellent, and I am a huge Thursday Murder Club fan.
Yes.
So this seemed like maybe it was going to be too similar to that, and so I admit that I was hesitant to read it because, like, when you have Thursday Murder that you love so much, you're like, oh, nothing can compare.
Right.
And it is a trend now that they have a lot of those books. And I will be honest that I haven't read a lot of them because I'm like, oh, it's going to be B level,
Yes.
What a snob I am.
But I think you may be right.
Well, I'm here to report that this one was a worthy comparison. This was so much fun. It is the story of Carol, who is in fact a murderer, a serial killer, no less. She has served her 35 years in prison and is now excited for her low-key retirement life. And she has been released from prison, and she's just recently moved into this retirement home. Unfortunately for her, shortly after her arrival, there is a murder. And so naturally, everyone assumes that she is responsible because, you have a
serial murderer.
Yeah, you have a bit of a history. So Carol has to set out to solve the murder in order to clear her own name. So, they won't be suspicious of her. So the mystery is good. The characters are fun. The humor is top notch. So it was great. Yes, there are similarities in the concept, but I was so excited to find another book that could compare and hold its own. So this one proved me wrong. It was great.
Well, I like the concept, and sometimes cozy is really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this was definitely cozy, and I think maybe it's British. I probably should confirm that. So I don't know if it's the British humor. Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Very fun.
And I do like British humor.
Yeah. I can't explain it, but it's just a tad different, and it's so funny.
A little drier, a little sarcastic.
A lot of sarcasm.
What was the name again?
I'm Not the Only Murderer in My Retirement Home.
I even like that title.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Well, another Preston and Child, and this is a different series. And so I read the first in the Nora Kelly series by Preston and Child. And Nora Kelly is an archaeologist, a professor. Oh. This is all set in New Mexico. She works in a museum, and it teams her up with an FBI agent, Corey Chambers. And Corey is a young, not a trainee, but she's not a seasoned FBI agent. And the story begins with some hikers that are caught in a storm, and they find shelter in a cave. And in that cave, they find some bodies. Well, as it turns out, these bodies were Native Americans buried many years ago. But they bring in Nora Kelly to say, now, let's make sure. And then in the middle of this cave, there is another body. Ooh. And then we go back to the missing hikers from 15 years ago.
Oh.
There were 9 hikers that had gone missing, and they had only found like 2 of the bodies. Now we have found 2 more.
Oh, gosh.
And so there's a kind of a throwback to what happened back then, what's happening now. What did the FBI do? What didn't they do?
Yeah.
It's very Native American in tone, and it is set in New Mexico, which that's a place I've never been, but it sounds great. And so there's Nora and Carrie. And her brother, who's a little bit of a hothead, who gets thrown into jail, and there's some bad actors. It's Preston and Childs, and it's really well done. And apparently, there's a whole series, so it gives us a little bit of a different taste.
Very cool. Very different series from the same authors. I love it when they can do that.
Yeah, and what is different is, Agent Pendergast is brilliant. This series. They're very capable and smart, but they're not Sherlock
more down
Holmes.
to earth. Right.
Yeah, they're not walking into a room and saying, "Oh, that pencil was moved," and that means
right.
I
can smell the DNA.
Yes, because they drank green tea and not regular. Yeah, so very good. It's Dead Mountain by Preston and Childs.
That's great. Okay, so after the retirement book, I started thinking about books that are read-alikes.
Read-alikes?
They're similar stories, but, because I was thinking that Thursday Murder Club and
I got you.
How they're similar. And so I remember 2 that I had read fairly recently. They're not new, but they are so good. They both are about the topic of hostage takeovers of a plane. So I have to be upfront. This is probably not ideal for readers getting ready to travel. Just a little heads up.
I just did a reservation.
Oh, sorry.
But not till April. So
no. Plenty of time. You'll forget about this.
Okay.
But both of these books are so good, and they are...
I know you're going to talk about one. Okay.
Oh, yeah? Okay, so...
Well, actually, they're stacked there.
Yeah,
there
you can
was
see
one that I've wanted to read.
Yeah. So the first one is called Falling by T.J. Newman. And in this story, upon takeoff, the pilot is informed that his family has been kidnapped. And he is told, unless you crash this plane, your family will be killed. And so the premise is immediately intense. And so it's high octane. The book goes back and forth between the pilots, his family on the ground, the crew. I loved it. It made me think about the conundrum. Like at dinner at night, I'm like, what would you do? What would you do? That kind of thing.
Who's T.J. Newman? Was that the flight attendant that wrote the book?
It is, yes. So that was what I was going to say. So I was able to hear her speak, and her backstory is really interesting. She was a flight attendant, and this was her first book, and she was writing this, in her little jump seat during her red-eye flights while the passengers slept. So in this book, I felt like there were little tidbits and details that were really authentic that I didn't know about because she had the inside scoop of what it was like and what really happens aboard flights. So this one was a very exciting read.
Wow.
Very exciting.
I have seen and heard about that, and she got quite a good bit of positive press.
Yes, and there's 2 more, not related, but just by her, that she's gone on to do other great action-packed stories.
I like it. Strangers in Time by David Baldacci. I have not read a lot of his, and I read a couple, and it's been many years ago, and I kind of know what to expect, but this was a little bit different. It's set in 1944 during the Blitz in London. It involves 2 young people, Molly, who I think is about 16, and Charlie's about 14. They are kids, but they're very mature.
Right. But I think that you are forced to be more mature in those kind of times. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of reference to that. There's like, what choice do we have?
Right.
Oliver is the owner of a small bookstore, but he's not really the book guy. It was his wife who loved the bookstore. This book had the most vivid descriptions of being in London during bombing. And I knew about this. I mean, I've read a lot about World War II, but they rarely transport us to a place where it feels like, oh my God, I don't know how we lived through this. People died by the thousands. Buildings were destroyed every night.
Yeah.
And you just never knew. And it never becomes exactly ordinary, but you sort of plow on.
Yeah.
We're just going to do. I don't know how that city survived or that country survived because it was so intense. There's a couple of mysteries going on. Molly is returning to the city after being one of those children that have been sent to the country. And now she's going to come home. She wants to see her mom and her dad. Well, mom's not there. Dad's not there. We find out. Charlie is living with his grandmother until he's not. And he's a child of the streets, but he's a good soul. And, it all comes together. One of the things about, I hope I'm not overgeneralizing, but I think with David Baldacci, it's somewhat to be expected that he's going to bring it all together.
Yes.
He does tie it up in a nice, neat ribbon. Mm-hmm. And if that's important to you, then this will work for you. Sometimes I like it a little left undone. Mm-hmm. But as I'm reading the book, I felt like, in spite of maybe wanting to dislike the book, well, it's kind of pop fiction. Right. I did. And I liked the characters very much. Molly and Charlie, I mean, I can't imagine an adult living through the Blitz, let alone teenagers that somehow figure it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of descriptions of what they're eating. It's like, how do you survive?
On one potato for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you're maybe it's, I know it's illegal to snatch the apple from the apple cart, but is it a bad?
Hungry.
Yes, I haven't had anything in 2 days.
Oh, so true.
Yeah,
I read this one and I loved it. I feel like people are Baldacci fans for sure, but this is so different from his action series. And this
that's what drew me. It was historical fiction.
So I hope that people that, maybe they read him for that, but maybe if you're not a Baldacci reader, this is totally different. This is historical fiction. And I felt like I was like, did he go there? He did such a good job. I felt like I was in London and it
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really did.
I was like, wow. I mean, kudos to that. And I love the little three main characters.
Yeah, they were all great.
So that one, he is very popular, but this is just so different from him and still did a great job. I mean, obviously still did a great job.
Yeah, he's written a bunch.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Yeah, it was a little out of his ordinary.
Yeah, but in a very good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good book.
Yes. So I had read Falling, which was a plane hostage situation. And then I found another book about a plane hostage takeover, which it was, and I did the same thing. I was like, oh, is it going to be too similar? But no, it was. Okay, so this one is called Hostage by Claire McIntosh.
I know that name.
Yes, she has written. She's
written a bunch. Okay.
And again, I was a little bit hesitant that it was going to be too similar, but this book took an entirely different approach, which I thought was fascinating. There is a flight, there is an impossible moral dilemma, but in this book, the focus is on all of the characters on board. And so there's a whole cast of characters, each with a backstory, each is a little bit suspicious, they all have their secrets. So it's a thriller that's very character driven as you are trying to puzzle out who on board is involved in this, who is a suspect. Someone on board is not, it is not necessarily to blame, but involved. And so it was fascinating in a totally different way. So I was so pleasantly surprised to have a similar story, but it was different enough to make it fresh and intriguing. So, and I was like, oh, this is when, the boulder hits me. When I'm like, that's a character-driven story.
Yes.
And Falling was very plot-driven because it was so fast and propulsive. So sometimes it has to literally hit me. But I was like, that's what these people mean that are talking about that. But fascinating too. Similar. I was like, maybe they're book cousins. Is that a real thing? I don't know. I'm just
I like
making that up.
Yeah, book cousins.
So they're similar and they're joined a bit, but they're different enough that make them both great reads. I can recommend them both together, not even in spite of each other, that they're just
nice. There are a number of movies of that genre.
Yes.
There was it was a Red Eye, but the sort of same. Somebody's going to be murdered if you don't crash this plane, or there's it was a Liam Neeson movie. Maybe it was a Flight Marshal.
Yeah.
And they're so intense because we've been there, sitting on an airplane. It's like, what if?
Yeah.
Why does that guy look strange?
That is not the good time to be thinking about that.
No question about it.
So, and that's true. I think things go in cycles in literature. We find that. Like, you'll have some hostage books, and then you'll have some of, like, I'm reading, I'm in love with my little retirement murder solvers, that kind of thing. They all actually are different enough that they can be enjoyed.
Right.
I'm learning. I just grew as a reader.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
How about
That's
that?
intense. The other book that I have read, almost finished, After You've Gone by Jeffrey Lent. Jeffrey Lent has written a number of books, and I've read all his previous books, and it's been a while. I think this one is just a couple of years old. He's not a prolific writer. He's not banging them out. I loved his, I think, 3 or 4 previous books. These books are difficult for me. There's a lot of tragedy, sadness, darkness, loneliness. What carries him is exceptional writing. It's always beautiful settings and characters, but they're not feel-good books.
Oh.
And I know that at times it's important to read these.
Yes.
It's hard to recommend because it's not going to make you feel good. And I'm discovering maybe that's a prime motivator for me. Not that they all have to be light and frothy, but
Got to have the big ones in there.
well, or something is settled, and this is not a settled book. It is in the early days of the 20th century, sort of between the world wars.
Okay.
Which starts before the First World War. Nova Scotia, Amsterdam. There's an awful lot of loss. It is historical fiction, but this is less historical fiction than many others. This almost could be set anytime.
Okay.
You know, we know where it's set, but it could be today. Because the concept is the same. We lose one person, we gain another, but are we going to lose that person? Oh. There's a lot of melancholy and sadness. And at times I'm wondering, why would people read this? And yet I'm reading it.
Right.
And it's another lesson in how do we know what other people are going through?
Yes.
Or that we also go through at times in our lives. He is a lovely writer. He just writes so well. And
it sounds very real.
it feels very,
Yeah.
very real. And I have to do it in smaller doses. It's not a page turner. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen
Right.
next? You know, there's no battles and guns and car chases. But I know after I've read for an hour, I have to sit and just breathe for a little minute. So it's called After You've Gone, Jeffrey Lent. And I do recommend other books that he's written. He's really very, very good.
That's good. I always call those my big girl books. When you sometimes
They
just
are.
I have to put my big girl pants on because I know it's important. I know it's good.
These are big boy books.
Yeah.
And yet, after I read this, I got to go find something that's...
I need a little fun
potato
murder.
chips.
Yeah.
Yes, a fun murder or, right.
But I think those are also the ones that affect you and change you a lot. So that's what makes them so important.
I agree. And it's a unvarnished look at life.
Oof.
At times, it's ripping the scab off.
So to recap for me, my books were I'm Not the Only Murderer in My Retirement Home by Fergus Craig.
I love that name.
Falling by T.J. Newman, and Hostage by Claire McIntosh.
And the books that I have read and recommend, Pendergast, The Beginning by Preston and Child, Dead Mountain by Preston and Child, Strangers in Time by David Baldacci, and After You've Gone by Jeffrey Lent.
Thank you for all your suggestions. Here's wishing that our listeners will find the right book at exactly the right moment to change their lives forever. Don't forget to stop by Bookends to find these titles and other titles. We'd love to see you in the store, to browse the shelves, chat about books, and pick up your next great read. If you're shopping online, you can support Bookends by ordering through bookshop.org. You'll get your books delivered right to your door, and your purchase supports Bookends, which we greatly appreciate. They even have ebooks. If you're an audiobook reader, Libro.fm has titles for your listening pleasure, and they support our store as well. So however you read, print, digital, or audio, thank you for supporting Bookends. Happy reading.